Hey guys, just going to go over the third lab challenge here. So as you can see, you're tasked to make a small little world, a little lake that has a red fish, a yellow fish, and a turtle. You need a zookeeper, which is a saucer, which we should have gone over before. If not, I'll show you how to do that real quick too. So the lake starts with 4 yellow fish and 2 turtles. Basically there's a maximum of 15 red fish, 6 yellows, and 2 turtles. But the red fish and the yellow fish are trying to survive because those pesky turtles keep eating the red fish. Okay, so hopefully we can get through this quickly. So I'm going to start just by making the lake itself. Use the water feature. Doesn't need to be too deep. Okay, I'm going to start real quick with the saucer. Saucer flies around. Code it when I'm going to move my L stick. It will move. It will also drop apples. So I'm just going to use A for my mechanic for dropping apples. Do actions, create, and I'm going to create apples. Okay, and that's basically all he does. He flies around dropping apples. Okay, so I'm going to go over to the side of my island and I'm going to make my 2 fish. The first one, fly fish 1, will be my red one. He's the smaller one in size. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to set up this mechanic. So he's going to wander the lake looking for apples. So when he sees an apple, he's going to move towards it. However, we need to set up the mechanic for when he doesn't see an apple. So when he sees apple not, he will wander. Looking for those apples. Okay, so then when he actually gets to an apple, he's going to bump it. He's going to bump the apple. So then when he bumps the apple, we want him to eat it. However, that's not the only condition, because he's going to eat the apple and then he's going to have to turn into a yellow fish. But that means our yellow fish has to be a creatable. We do not have that yet. As you can see, if you look into actions, if we create, there is no yellow fish. So how do we change that? Well, we actually make our yellow fish, and we can use this guy here, fish 1. You can see he looks a little different. We'll make him yellow, and we'll make him, oops, I'm really having trouble here. Slightly larger. Oh, it's a lot larger. Slightly. Okay, so now my yellow fish, he does the same thing. He's slightly larger. He wanders the lake looking for apples to eat. When he eats an apple, he creates a new red fish. Okay. So it's the same piece. Oops, sorry. What am I doing? It's the same piece as in the red fish, is that when he sees an apple, he's going to move towards it. But of course, when he sees, or I should say he doesn't see apple not, then he should wander. Okay, and then of course we have to set up so when he actually hits the apple. So when he bumps the apple, he does the same thing, he eats it. Okay, now he has to create, he's not going to vanish, he's just going to create another red fish. Okay, so now I mentioned creatables earlier. I'm just going to go out into the main menu here, and if you just highlight the fish itself and then you press the X button, that's the blue one, you can go down in the menu and it'll actually say creatable. Tap on creatable. Now it says here a max 100. Now I'm on my yellow fish, and if I look at the instructions, it says I can have a maximum of 6 yellow fish. So I'm just going to go down to my max created, create 6. Okay, now my yellow character is a creatable. So if I go back to my fly fish, he also needs to be creatable, so I'm going to make him a creatable. Now my max created for my yellow fish, or excuse me, my red fish is 15. Boom. Okay, so I'm going to go into my coding for my red fish here, and I'm actually going to create my second fish, which was this guy. Okay, so he's actually going to eat the apple, create the yellow fish, but we don't want to see the red fish anymore, so I'm going to indent and I'm going to add another action for him to do after he eats it. He's going to go into combat and he's going to vanish. So hopefully he eats the apple, he turns into a yellow fish, and then he vanishes. Now my yellow fish just needs to create the red fish. So after he eats the apple, he should just actions, create, go my creatables, and there is my first fish that I created. So if you look at the instructions, okay, at the bottom there it says the lake starts with 4 yellow fish and 2 turtles. So I'm not actually creating any red fish to begin with, but I do need 4 yellow fish. So how do I do that? Well, I highlight them. Okay, now you can sort of see, I'll turn my, oops. You can see that all of the all these little tracers here are heading back to my main creatable. So this is the first fish, this is the main guy. I can put these guys into my lake. Now you can see that they're automatically sort of sinking into the water. That's a mechanic that the game has built into it. But if for some reason your guys don't actually swim in the water, they don't fall into the water, they might hover above. Like as for instance, the saucer hovers above the water here. You can go into where you change the creatables by hitting X, and you can go down and you see it says stay above water. Just take off that stay above water and they'll actually sink into the water. So the last part now is making my turtles. Turtle. Okay, I don't have to make them creatable because it just requires 2 turtles and nothing eats these turtles, so basically I can just copy these turtles once they're done. I do have to go into the menu here and check and see if he floats or if he sinks in water. So I don't want him to stay above the water, I want him to sink, so I take that off again. Now I go into his coding, and his mechanic just asks him to he's slightly larger than yellowfish. He wanders looking for red fish to eat. So he goes around when see fly fish was the red fish. He's going to move towards it, and we'll make him kind of fast. So he's going to move towards that fish, but also the mechanic is when he sees, or I should say not sees, the fly fish, he also has to just sort of wander around the lake. So now we've got his mechanic, but now we need what happens when he bumps into the fish. When he bumps into that fly fish, he's going to want to eat it. And that fish should be gone. Okay, so let's have and this is 1 turtle, so I'm just going to bring him over. And there's 2. Well, they have to be slightly larger than the yellow, though. Okie dokie, so that turtle's bigger. That turtle's a little bigger. Okay, let's see if this works. Uh-oh. Oh, I know what's happening. They're just spawning red. They're just spawning red fish. But that is fixable. So I'll try and explain what happened there. Is that basically my yellow fish didn't have a condition to spawn this. That's right. So it's a simple error, but because I didn't indent this, what the indent does is actually say that when he bumps into this apple, this condition down here to create a fly fish is dependent on this. As it stood, it was like there, it wasn't indented. That means it was just creating fly fish as much as it could, but it had a limit, and that limit was 15. So let's try that, and hopefully it'll actually have to eat an apple to make the condition true. Okay, so again, no. Good, this is good. No sporadic fish. Let's drop a few of these bad boys in. Boom, okay, we got some, let's see. Okay, we do get redfish turning into, okay, so perfect. This is kind of what your world's gonna look like. Have a little fun with it. Start shooting these around. Except if you count, there's a few more yellow fish than we need. And because our yellow fish don't actually ever die, what we need to do is sort of change the creatable number. So as we go in, because I have 4 out here already, and these 4 will never leave, to make sure that only 6 yellow fish ever show up at once, I go into my creatable menu, and I should never really create more than 2, because the first 4 are never going to leave. So if I create those 2, there will be 6 yellow fish in total. So 4. 2, 4, yeah, 6 yellow fish. So that's it. I'm gonna just try and get as many of those redfish in, but again, those turtles are eating the redfish. You can have up to 15 redfish. I mean, my redfish are kind of moving slow, that's why there's not too many of them. But that's something you can change too. You can speed them up, you can make them quicker. Anyway, I hope this helps.